Hello and welcome to the FLOA Protocol. My name is Dr. Jones DC and I'm so excited you're watching this intro webinar of a part 3 series going over the FLOA Protocol, which has been my life's work where I put structure where structure was missing in the world of prolonged fasting, guys. This is the international version. So also excited too as well is that we are finally going global. And this is what I wanted for the whole time. And we've been doing this here in America now for several years. And our coaching system has just been so wildly successful that I wanted to give access to everybody throughout the world to what exactly this is. And you're gonna learn all about that in today's webinar. Understand this right off the get-go. I have a high level of confidence in this program. We guarantee our results, meaning we will continue to coach you if you are unsuccessful, and we define success as losing about 1% of body weight per week throughout our program, guys. So of course you'll learn more about that as you stay tuned to the rest of my webinars. Understand that sustaining weight loss is extremely difficult. The literature is very clear. If you look at all weight loss measures, about 70% of people who embark on a weight loss journey that lose more than 10% of their body weight will fail to keep off the majority of their weight within a couple years. That's staggering, right? And they're constantly stressed. I personally know, because I'll explain my journey on one of the later webinars, part 1 actually, but there's a high level of stress that goes into maintaining weight when you utilize some of the older methods like counting calories, and we're gonna talk about that. And so what I did is made it easier to not only lose the weight, but to keep it off for the rest of their life. And I think the guarantee of results speaks for itself, guys. So let's just dive in. Okay, so what we're gonna talk about is the science of obesity. We're gonna talk about the FLOA Protocol and the fasting and how that works. We're gonna go over the coaching system, which is the most important thing to understand because that is how we implement the FLOA Protocol, and then putting it all together for you before you end up hopefully watching the rest of my webinars. All right, so the science of obesity. You watching this webinar, this ain't your first rodeo, right? You've tried losing weight multiple times in the past and most likely tried counting calories, increased your exercise, reduced your caloric intake, and you probably lost some weight. But how much you lost was determined by genetics, 5, 10, 20, 30 pounds, but you hit a roadblock. You hit this plateau and probably gained a lot of it back, most of it back within months to maybe a year or two. There's a reason why this happens. It has to do with the insulin theory of obesity. This counting calorie method doesn't work, and some of the long-term data is actually very clear. There's some step trials done, and what they showed was the same thing. Some initial weight loss followed by this inevitable regain of weight. The reason why that happens is because the body has what's called a set point, and that set point is kind of like the thermostat of your house. Regardless of what else goes on, that thermostat is gonna regulate and keep a temperature that you set the thermostat to. Well, your internal thermostat has a weight that it's trying to maintain. And so when you embark on a weight loss journey and you reduce your calories and you increase your exercise, you create this caloric deficit. That's like putting a portable AC unit by you because you want to cool off. The thermostat's set to 70 degrees and you get some initial drop in temperature, but then over time that thermostat overrides that AC unit and now the temperature is going to go back to 70 despite the presence of that little portable AC unit being on, which is that plateau. In translation, your body responds to the weight loss, that caloric deficit over time, by decreasing your metabolic rate and increasing your hunger. It's a horrible place to be at because you're working really hard to maintain weight and you can't eat as much. So we gotta get in front of that, and the only way to dial down that thermostat is to lower insulin. You can't lose body fat in the presence of elevated insulin despite being in a caloric deficit at that time, which is why the body ends up downregulating the metabolism in response to a caloric deficit and elevated insulin levels. And so we gotta lower those insulin levels, but it's very difficult when you have a condition called insulin resistance, which in essence is a condition where your body is no longer responding to insulin as well, and your body has to respond to insulin because insulin is what takes the sugar out of your blood and puts it into your cells. If it didn't work, you would die because We know high blood sugar is a condition called diabetes. And so when you are resistant, your body has to produce more and more insulin. So we gotta get in control of the insulin resistance in order to get ahead of our weight and lose it much more easy than we ever did before. Okay, the FLOA Protocol. This is, again, the most aggressive approach towards prolonged fasting. I created structure where structure was missing. I like to think of it as a little bit of science meeting ancestral wisdom. So in essence, what it is a weekly long fast, a weekly prolonged fast. 48 hours seems to be this magical number that I really like with patients. I can go up to 72, I can go as low as 36, and there's a lot of variations of it that we take patient by patient. But in essence, it is a weekly long fast. And so why does it work? I can talk for hours about why does it work, but there's three main changes to your physiology. We have insulin resistance, inflammation, and metabolic flexibility. We'll take a much deeper dive into those topics in part 2, the science of obesity. But insulin resistance, we just talked about it. So these long periods of fasting does wonders for healing the insulin resistance, because those receptors became resistant to insulin to begin with because it was always elevated. And so the most powerful way to lower insulin is to not eat. And the longest period of not eating is, sounds silly, but not eating over a long period of time, prolonged fasting, right? And doing it repetitively is the most powerful version of that, AKA the FLOA Protocol. Now, inflammation is also reduced by these long periods of fasting. And inflammation, it drives this inability to mobilize fat, kind of similar in its own pathways to what insulin does. It makes it harder for your body to mobilize the body fat and burn it. And so this magical process called cellular autophagy, which is a healing process that the body does in response to these periods of fasting, does wonders for lowering inflammation. And then finally, metabolic flexibility, which is your body's ability to not only burn carbohydrates, which is what it's always doing. Everybody is a good carb burner, but most of us are a poor fat burner because we never put the body into a situation where it has to rely on fat because we're not exercising, we're eating too much, and we're eating too often. Okay, now I know you might be thinking, 48 hours every single week, you are out of your mind. I can't even go, I can't even skip breakfast, right? Well, don't worry. We have ways to make this easier. We have supplements that accomplish just that. They are powerful appetite suppressing supplements. It's been a lot of work that I've done into researching these supplements. So you'll have access to order those supplements, and we'll coach you because there's many different versions and different amounts and different combinations. And we'll find the combination for you that makes it easier for you to get into the flow fasting. Okay, so let's talk about coaching, because this is how we're going to implement the program for you. You start off with an intro Zoom call. I keep those capped at 5 people. It's kind of nice because you get to see that you're starting your journey. You're not alone in this. We have a community of folks just like you. And so that is your customization call. Now we will send you the protocol with just the amount of information you need to get started, and with just the videos you need to get started. So you have to watch that. Then we do our intro coaching call where we can customize this and tailor it towards you. Then we move you over to the group format of coaching. This is every single week. I do a live Q&A. About a week before the trainings, we have a post where you can submit all your desired questions. Then the day before the training, you get the agenda, so you know exactly what's going to be on that training. Every single training is fully recorded and accessible on the private group. And then what I love most about this is because some of our patients want to catch everything. They're on every live. Some people want to catch everything, but they can't because they're busy, so they catch the recordings. And then we have our really busy patients that only want to see the questions that they asked. And so we have Flow University, which is everything on a teachable account in a table of contents, nice and beautifully ordered, so you can go right to the topics you want to get. So the opportunity to be able to participate, get your question answered in a much more economical program because it's done in a group setting is very high. We have a Flow hotline. So in addition to being able to ask whatever questions you want and have it delivered to you in that group training, We have a dedicated Flow hotline where you can text, and as my international peeps, we use WhatsApp to be able to communicate via text messages. But you'll be using WhatsApp to be able to communicate to us and ask any questions, any difficulties, any issues. Because we do put a guarantee of results, the most important thing for you to send to us would be a text message explaining that your weight's not budging, so that we can get on a personal call and get that fixed. The accountability system is very high. We have a program where you submit your weekly weigh-ins, and then our team is tracking that for you so that we can reach out to you if there's any issues, or if you reach out to us that you're not losing weight, we can sit there and look at your results week by week by week. And this is the format where we've really created this high level of success for you guys to be able to implement the FLOA protocol and get the results that you've been wanting for so long. Okay, so let's put it all together, guys. You are here and you're trying to get to your goal, 50 pounds, 20 pounds, 100 pounds. You've done it before, you've done half of it, you've done a quarter of it, but you've always gained it back, right? So in order to get you there, that's the FLOA protocol. So think of this program, you're like a kid jumping on this metaphorical bike, taking you to the end goal, which is this journey. Our coaching system, this program is like the training wheels for that journey. We're gonna help get you there. But then when you're done, when your insulin sensitivity is high, when you're very metabolically flexible and your inflammation's under control, you will be able to maintain this weight and live the FLOA lifestyle. The FLOA lifestyle is this is our community that we've also created of patients who have implemented the FLOA protocol, gotten their results, and now they're maintaining their weight with much more ease. Essentially, what this is a lifestyle of long fasting. Instead of every week, they're doing it every couple weeks. And we have a different group for them, and I get on there and I give them an update and check in on them once or twice a month. That's pretty awesome. So that's it for the intro webinar. Please, if you watch this and you've tuned in to this point, then go ahead and do yourself a favor and watch part 1, 2, and 3 so that you can get a much deeper and more comprehensive understanding of why this program is so wildly successful. And do that before your first call so that you have a better understanding, you know what questions to ask. And I look forward to working with you guys to obtain higher levels of health. We'll see you later.